I'm Arden13.
Welcome to our show, World Tiger.
Building Dragon.
Today we are continuing with some of World Anvil's summer camp prompts.
Summer Camp is a program set up by the World Anvil team to promote world building as well as the community in general.
There'll be a total of 33 prompts all throughout the month of July, so if you're looking to win some prizes for your submissions, don't miss out.
World Anvil is a free in-browser tool that has everything that a world builder, a GM, or a writer may ever need.
They also have some really incredible subscription options, so make sure to check those out as well.
Totally worth it, and they're totally affordable. If you're interested, please consider going to check them out. But in any case, I think it's time we got to the prompt. Kat, what is the prompt?
Today we get to write about an organization that is above the law in our world. Do you have an idea?
Girl, I had an idea yesterday. Oh,
Perfect.
I'm so hyped. This is gonna be great.
Great, because I have no idea what I'm gonna write about.
Okay, well, this balances out from yesterday.
Yeah.
We're fine. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Okay, but before we get things started, you guys have to know exactly what we're doing. We have given ourselves some parameters in order to complete the summer camp project. Each of us has 30 minutes to answer the prompt.
Each of our submissions have to be, at minimum, 300 words.
After the 300 words and our 30 minutes are up, we will come back together and share what we came up with.
Some of our best ideas come from collaborations.
That they have. You ready for this?
Yes.
Let's do this.
Time skip!
I'm so excited! And we're back.
We're back. You had fun with this one.
I had so much fun with this one.
A lot of fun. Well, why don't you start? Because mine has a sad story to go with it, so.
Oh, okay.
I forgot to hit save, and so I wrote for 30 minutes. I have everything, like the basics of everything that I wrote down, but I don't have exactly what I wrote down.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
It's fine. I have everything, I can go back in later, and most of the time I edit anyway, so this will just be part of the editing process, I guess, but but
I'm so sorry.
that's okay. I needed to workshop this a lot. I needed the collaboration anyway for this project, so
Okay,
why don't you start?
Then I'll try to be brief with this.
No, you go. I am really excited to hear about yours.
Okay, so, writing in Ellecrid. I've stuck in Ellecrid for quite some time on this project, and that's fine. The organization that is above the law that I wrote about is very near and dear to my heart. It is called the Dragoncrest Guild. It is a guild of adventurers that have gained such clout and prestige and notoriety in the world that they are not only an adventuring guild, but they are a city-state in their own right. They have their own standing military. They host a yearly, week-long tournament of festival games. And they have their own thriving economy.
Wow.
And this is over the course of about 50-ish years of being established.
Mm-hmm.
So the Dragoncrest Company, the Dragoncrest Guild, started out as, truth be told and full disclosure, essentially the player characters from my very first game of D&D. We played in 3.5 all the way up to level 20, and then we retired our characters. And what we did at the very end was we pooled all of our money and our resources together to build a guild hall so that our group could live on in fame as this adventuring guild, this adventuring party that started a guild. It has since developed. With the amount of games that I run, and I just use them as kind of conduit characters or NPCs that you can run into and build relationships with and be friends with and so on and so forth, the Dragoncrest Company and Guild has just become a large mainstay of my games. Kat can attest to this.
Yes.
So I gave you a little bit of the history, and I really don't need to go too deep into the history about the guild itself. However, the way that we have it broken down here, and there's so much more that I could have written, and that's really painful for me to admit, because usually during these prompts, I'm like jumping between the sub prompts and the sub bits. But I was like, I'm writing all of the history right now. I'm writing all of the assets and the structure of the. It was so much. So kind of moving through, we started. I already kind of gave the history. It was a former party, an adventuring party. That pooled their money together, bought a little plot of land, and built their guild hall. And from there, they just started to bring more people in. They had their own interests that they wanted to pursue outside of adventuring. So there was trade, there was commerce, there was all sorts of things that started to create this city-state surrounding their guild hall. Basically, the metropolitan area built up built up and out from what would be your town hall, but it was a guild hall dedicated to the Dragoncrest Guild. The way that the company, I'm going to jump between saying company and guild, and I'm not entirely sure why, but the structure of it, the way that the hierarchy works, is at the very head is the guild master. And the guild master, the serving guild master, is still their first serving guild master, and it is a dragonborn paladin by the name of Zedarak Bloodbane. He stands at the top, and he does not have a throne. He does not have a crown. He does not see himself as a king or of a ruler. In fact, when he meets with the inner circle, and I'll get to them in a second, they stand together. Not necessarily, King Arthur, Knights of the Round Table levels of standing together, but they stand as a community, as a group together. And the only elevation that he will ever take over any one of them is by stepping onto a dais to basically just gain order in the meeting.
Right, just to kind of speak to everybody versus being above everybody.
But with being the guild master, he is also the commander-in-chief of the military. He is the overseer of commerce. He is the head of recruitment. He oversees every single branch of the company itself, of the guild itself, as kind of just like a last checkbox to say, yes, this can go through, or yes, this can happen, but he himself has a lot of singular autonomy as the guild master. Directly below him is the inner circle. The inner circle are veteran to high-ranking members of the guild. They are people that have been with the guild for a very long time. Most of the inner circle is made up of that initial adventuring party, and then more folks that came in later on, but within short order. The inner circle individually also holds autonomy themselves to operate a branch of the guild, whether that is military, research, commerce, trade, what have you. They are kind of vice presidents of the guild themselves, but presidents of their own branch.
Got it.
Everything kind of trickles down from them if it doesn't come from Zedarak's mouth itself. The other fun note that I wanted to throw in here is, besides the fact that they have a bunch of autonomy, is the fact that in times of conflict, when the guild itself mobilizes for war, the inner circle serves as Zedarak's honor guard.
I love that.
And it's just a variety of people. I think I don't recall the exact number of the inner circle. I think it's maybe 15 or something like that, but it's like 15 of the best of the best in the guild.
Right.
Below them, and this was something that I kind of came up with while I was writing this, was below them is the Court of Seats. And the Court of Seats has no fixed number, and it is not meant to be super small or super large. It is meant to accommodate as many seats as it needs to fit. And the Court of Seats is essentially the captains and the lieutenants of the various different branches of the guilds.
Got it.
So it just kind of gives a little bit more rank and prestige to serving members of the guild, so they can, and it's not that you decide that you're going to sit on the Court of Seats and you're there for life. You can resign, you can say that you want to be there for a certain term of years or what have you. So it's constantly circulating how many people are sitting on the Court of Seats, and helping to regulate the communication between the inner circle and everyone else in the guild. The only difference between the Inner Circle and the Guildmaster and the Court of Seats is the members of the Court of Seats do not have autonomy.
Got it.
They work for the members of the Inner Circle, and they work at Zedarek's behest and pleasure.
Right.
But that just kind of comes with the territory. Things I wanted to talk about in terms of their public agenda. We did get to talk about their public agenda. The public agenda of Dragoncrest, at least internally, is a reputation as an adventuring guild that will take on any quest no matter what it is. What it is given to them. What is given to them. Obviously, there are morality questions that they themselves tackle, but that is more or less handled by the Inner Circle and Zedarek himself. They're not going to take a contract to walk into a city and commit genocide.
Right.
That's not something that they do.
They have their limits. It's more so, we've accepted this job, we are going to complete this job.
Yes, their word is as good as gold. To take a number out of the Song of Ice and Fire. That's what I was thinking of. But since they have themselves kind of their own city-state-esque sort of situation, basically they are a very progressive society, a very progressive city-state, that they are police. Their military serves as police officers for within their campus and the surrounding countryside to maintain the sovereignty and safety of their people, of their small folk. They also serve as mercenaries for various other mercenary companies or lords or noblemen or what have you, the world over, to basically fill out or swell their ranks. You can purchase, a legion of members of Dragoncrest soldiers, or you can purchase a couple of them to just kind of fill out a platoon or whatever.
Right.
But they have a lot of notoriety in that respect. And I know I'm getting long-winded. The one thing that I wanted to mention, and I will stop talking because we need to talk to you, is that one of my coolest things that's in Dragoncrest, besides the campus, besides the festival games, whatever, is the fact that there is the Dragoncrest Hold. And it is a massive treasure hoard of all of the legendary and magical items that they have collected over the years. And as a member, when you first join Dragoncrest, you are given the opportunity to walk into the treasure trove and grab an item for yourself, and that becomes your item.
Love that.
So that's what I got.
Now, you did get to talk about a lot of the cool stuff with Dragoncrest. They're above the law purely because they
have the power to do so.
Right, because they just built themselves up to be so.
They have their own standing. They were just right next to the Dragoncrest campus. There was just a hamlet to a small village. They brought economy. They brought this they brought infrastructure to this area. So by their own merits, they can do whatever they want, and they do whatever they want.
Luckily,
within reason.
Luckily, they're good people.
Luckily, they're great people.
So nothing too bad happens over there, but.
Cool. That's what I came up with.
I love Dragoncrest. This is one of my favorite things to learn about and keep hearing about.
I'm going to close this now because I will continue to talk.
So, for mine, like I said earlier, kind of a sad story. It all got kind of taken away. But that's okay because I was kind of just making stuff up as I went for this one. So, part of Theatrim, I've talked a little bit about the country of Mahtromenel, which is that country.
Mahtromenel.
Which is that country that worships Oban and is the seekers of truth, and they're constantly looking for more knowledge and all that. So during the conquests of truth, which was that time in history where these people were definitely searching and going out for more knowledge to kind of indoctrinate other countries into their beliefs, but also to spread their knowledge and hopefully gain more knowledge in return. During this time, however, they started to realize we're making a lot of enemies by doing this. People don't like when you go and impose your own beliefs on them. So they kind of They took a step back. They met back up with the conclave of the Cobalt Nation, which is just the group of the organization that really runs Sondomenel, and they kind of had this open discussion of like, look, we have to stop doing this. People are going to end up hating us, and then we're going to have rebellions, and it's just not going to work out. Why don't we stop what we're doing and go and work on more peaceful ways of getting this information and spreading our own information, which would later lead to the scripts, which is in another video. It's all connected. And so, however, during this time, this really angered a couple of the members on the conclave. They didn't like this. There was this idea of like, no, Oben calls us to go out and seek knowledge. The fact that these people are opposing us means that they're hiding something, and that means that we need to go after them, and we need to like mate them. We need to meet them head on. And so this started. Now they won't ever call this a civil war or a infighting, because why would this sovereign nation ever fight amongst themselves? However, there were skirmishes between the lords and the rulers of Sondomenel that resulted in a majority of these angered ruling bodies to head north and kind of say, well, if you're not going to like us, then we don't like you. We're going to start our own country, and you can't do anything about it. And so that became the country of I haven't focused on this part of the world too much. So it's Mahtromenel. And so Sondomenel.
Mahtromenel.
So Sondomenel means seat of heaven, and Mahtromenel means warriors of heaven. And so the group of people that went north, you talked about a warlord a couple days ago, so I kind of went with the Warlords of Oben. And they kind of rule this northern part of Sondomenel. And that was kind of this organization that I went with that's above the law, because they kind of just said, well, we don't like what you're doing, so bye, and they left, and they started their own country, their own rules, their own regulations, and the rest of the country of Sondomenel was like, okay, as long as you don't keep attacking us and you kind of just stay up there and do your own thing, that's fine. They don't associate with each other. They are very clear in all of their documents, like, no, we are separate countries. What they do is not our business. We don't want to deal with them. So that was kind of the start. That was kind of the brief history of what I was going for. Within this organization, each city within the north has 3 rulers. You have your main lord, which is going to be the head person in charge. Mm-hmm. You have a member of Oben's church, so someone who is definitely speaking into this lord's ear about what Oben says and what the truths are, and seeking out the truth. And then you have your chief of state, basically the person that talks to this lord about what's actually going on in the world, in that city, and how they should best run it. How that works is that normally you have your ruling lord, you'll have that clergy member will usually be a part of that lord's family, so a brother or sister. They're not, it doesn't have to be male or female, it doesn't matter. And then the wife of the lord is that chief of state. So you kind of have this ruling trio over each of these cities.
Nothing can possibly go wrong.
Of course not. And so of those 3, let's see. What else did I write that got deleted? Oh, every year these lords of Oben will meet together in the capital city and kind of have a month-long meeting where month-long meeting where they will get together and regroup and kind of have this large open discussion amongst themselves to make sure that they're all on the same track. They are still united on the same front. This takes a month? I mean, they do it once a year. There are... How many months are there in Theatrim? I have this written down somewhere. There are a lot of months in Theatrim. So
there's more than... So are there
it's more than 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not... it's not really taking up 1/12 of their time.
Sure.
But it is a longer period of time, and they all meet together. Part of that time where they go up to the capital city is for that first week when they get there. It is almost like this cleansing where they will go through and they will pray, they will read scriptures of Oben, they will really center themselves on this idea of we are the seekers of truth, we are on a constant conquest to discover the truth and figure out how we can just keep finding out more information and spread it across all nations.
If they're opposing the truth, that means they're hiding the truth.
Exactly. One of their their organization's, I don't want to call it a motto, but it's kind of their motto. It is just the conquests of truth shall never die. And so it is that idea of when we were searching out and going out for the truth that the Sondomenel stopped, that never ended for us. We are still searching and we're still going for that. It's a little difficult to keep that constant energy up because that part of the world is very cold, and so they have to focus a lot more on keeping the peace within their cities, and it's hard to do it all on your own, and so they're kind of struggling with that. Like, no, we want to go out and spread the truth, but there's so much issues within our own country.
Half of our country doesn't even believe that we're doing the right thing.
Exactly. And that's the other thing, is that there were a lot of, when all of these lords moved up north, there were still people living there who were like, so I guess we have to deal with this now. And this is that part of the world where they have very hard laws, and a lot of them are focused on the scriptures of Oben. And so maybe if you didn't follow Oben, maybe you weren't the strongest believer in Oben, you got called out for that, and it wasn't pretty. And so it's one of those where it's a very harsh and cold part of the world, and the rulers of that kind of represent that. And so, they are mostly just above the law because they decided that they didn't like the law that was being enacted out, and so they left and they started their own country.
I like that a lot. So I've seen the map in passing, but so there's Sondomenel, and then directly north of it is a sovereign country, is their own country. It's not just like a principality of Sondomenel.
No, it is. So the Whispering Gulch is the separation between those two.
Oh, okay.
So it is a very it happened just to be that they had this really awesome border that separated the two countries.
Sure.
In general, most people, when they're talking about Sondomenel as a whole country, there are parts of the world that are like, oh yeah, it's just Sondomenel. They don't even really recognize that this is a whole other country with their own ideologies and things like that, which causes issues, or will cause issues later on, when these warlords of Oben start to begin their conquests of truth again and begin to impose their own beliefs onto other people. Because it'll be like, hey, what are you guys doing? Why are you attacking us?
Why are the Sondomenelli attacking us? It's not us! It's not us!
But then it comes into that idea of but you guys believe the same things, you worship the same god, you're in the same area,
There's a to relate it to our own world, there is a very interesting parallel that you are drawing with the Islamic states. To my understanding, I'm not going to try to re-quote it from my education back in undergrad or what have you, but I do believe these two opposed factions who have, at the basis of understandings, very similar beliefs, but there's just those specific things that really cause them to divert so abruptly. I love that.
Yes.
That is something so interesting to me.
And so you'll have these followers. Maybe your first encounter with someone who's a follower of Oben is someone from, I'm going to keep tripping over this word, Mahtromenel.
Mahtromenel.
Maybe that's your first encounter with someone, and then you re-encounter someone who's from Sondomenel, and they're like, hey, I've had this really cool god, his name's Oben, you want to hear about him? And you're like, no. why would I ever want to hear about that person? They're awful. They tried to invade my town. Like, they ruined everything for us. And so it's just this idea of same beliefs, different execution.
I mean, that falls into, to me, I made the connection to the Islamic State, or the parallel to the Islamic states, but this is also something that is very ever present in Christianity itself.
Yeah.
Where there are certain, I don't want to call them flavors of Christians, but there are certain sects of Christianity that are more assertive than others.
Right.
And so those people from those less assertive branches of Christianity are often lumped in together with those more assertive folk. I personally take offense to it. It's just, I don't...
Yeah,
Each person is different. Everyone is different, and everyone has their own method of going about things.
And kind of going off of that is just that ability to take the same basic teachings, but picking out the certain lines and hyper-focusing on those. The one that they really focus on is that idea of, like, no, Oban says to go out and seek truth and destroy any controversies, or, you know, just discover the unknown. And some people take that as a enjoy life, go out and find new things and discover these cool things that are out in the world, versus this other part of the world that says we need to go out and impose what we know is truth onto other people, and what they think is truth is 100% wrong, and we need to destroy it. So, I don't know. Of course, that's more getting into, I guess that is part of the organization, but this is also like a governing body.
Sure. But in terms of the overarching law, they have taken a law that is understood and kind of perverted it.
Yeah.
Or at least changed it to fit their own scripts. I want to re-educate myself on the real world parallels that I just brought up, just because of you introducing this.
Yeah.
This is really interesting to me. I like that. I like what you did.
Yeah, I like what I did.
See
It's
what
just,
you did there.
Yeah, I like what I did. It's just a lot of what I have right here on World Anvil is very just like bullet points, because again,
I'm so sad about
I don't
that.
think I missed anything, which is a good feeling to have, but just the realization of like, well, I'll have to go in and rewrite it, and maybe it'll be better.
So did you save?
I did just save it.
She saved.
I saved
Okay, we're
it, so
good.
it will be available for me to go back and edit later, but yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, that's all I got. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let us know in the comments below something that you enjoyed about today's video, or if you have an idea that you're willing to share.
If you enjoyed today's video, please make sure to hit all those buttons that everyone else bugs you about. We'd love for you to join our lunch table.
And go check out World Anvil if you're interested.
You guys have been great. I'm Kat.
I'm Arden13. I'm still waiting on that ramen.
We'll see you next time.
Bye!